Livestock Production 4. Livestock Rearing Practices. Introduction. In the management of livestock, there are many activities that are carried out on animals to enhance production. These activities are referred to as livestock rearing practices. Some of the livestock rearing practices done routinely include: routine is a fixed or a regular way of doing something. Lesson objectives. By the end of the lesson, you should be able to describe livestock rearing practices, describe keeping of bees and fish, carry out livestock rearing practices, and describe appropriate handling techniques of livestock during routine management. Background information. In your previous studies, you covered common livestock breeds kept in Kenya: livestock health, livestock nutrition, selection, and breeding. The importance of keeping livestock healthy is that they grow faster, reaching maturity early, they produce highly, they give high-quality produce, they have a long life, and they give rise to strong and healthy offsprings. Suggested activities. Construct a Kenya top bar hive, after which you place it in a good site in school, away from disturbance. Smear some wax or honey in it to encourage the bees to colonize the hive. Assist Type in the correct term used to describe the statements. The following are methods of fish preservation. By clicking on the appropriate button, identify which is not a suitable method of preserving fish. By clicking on the appropriate button, identify the correct methods of identifying farm animals. The following are factors that are used in selecting the animals to be culled from the herd. By clicking on the appropriate buttons, identify these factors on the list provided. By clicking on the appropriate button, identify the correct procedure followed when establishing a fish pond. Glossary. Absconding. Absconding is a sudden departure of bees from the hive due to unfavorable conditions. Apiary is a place where beehives are laid. Blowfly is a fly that lays its eggs on the wounds of animal. Brood is larva and pupa of bees. Creep feeding is feeding of young ones before weaning. Crutching is the shearing of wool around the external reproductive organs of a female sheep. Docile is easy to control. Docking is the removal or cutting off of the tail or dock, especially in sheep. Flushing is the practice of giving extra quality feed to an animal around service time. Honeysuck is a sac on the bees used to store honey. Indelible ink is the ink that cannot be rubbed out or removed. Kid is young one of goats. Muslin cloth is a thin plain weave cotton cloth. Raddling is the practice of fitting the rams with breeding chutes that are painted in different colors during mating. Steaming up is the practice of providing extra feed of high nutritive value to an animal during the last weeks of gestation. Swarm is a colony bees or part of it that is in flight. Tapping is mating in sheep.
Feeding practices. Routine practice is a fixed or a regular way of doing something. Feeding livestock is a common management practice in livestock farming.
Flushing. Farmers need to offer to the right stock the right type of feeds, in the right amounts, and at the right period. There are special types of feeding carried out on certain animals to cater for their specific needs. For example, flushing. Flushing is the practice of giving extra quality feed to an animal around service time.
Crib feeding in kids. Crib feeding is feeding of young ones from birth to weaning. The feed given to the young ones is called crib feed. A good crib feed should be highly nutritious, digestible, and palatable. Feeding in piglets. Piglets are the young ones of pigs. They should be introduced to solid, palatable food. From the 10th day, piglets should be provided with sufficient amounts of crib pellets in a clean trough. The amount of crib pellets should be raised to about 0.9 kilograms per piglet per day at weaning.
The following are properties of a good crib feed. By clicking on the appropriate button, identify which one is incorrect.
Steaming up. Steaming up is the practice of providing extra feed of high nutritive value to animals during the last weeks of gestation. The time period when steaming up is done varies from one type of animal to another. A cow is steamed up 6 to 8 weeks prior to calving. An ayu is steamed up 3 to 4 weeks prior to lambing. A nanny is steamed up 3 to 4 weeks prior to kidding. A doe is steamed up 2 weeks prior to kidding. A sow is steamed up 6 weeks prior to farrowing.
Be able to walk around, and she must be a cow.
The farm started way back in 1940s.
Body weight, the sahi was way over 400 kilograms body weight.
Complete the statements given below by typing in appropriate words as used in livestock feeding.
Parasite and disease control practices. Parasites and disease control is very important in livestock rearing. Some of the methods used in their control include vaccination. A vaccine is a preparation of dead or attenuated disease-causing organism introduced into animal's body to induce immunity. There are 4 groups of vaccines. These are live virulent vaccines, live attenuated vaccine, killed or dead vaccines, and toxoids. Vaccination in poultry. Vaccines can be given in the following ways: by injections, orally through the mouth, inhalation through the nose, and through the cloaca.
From the list of statements given below, select qualities of a good vaccine by clicking on the appropriate statement. Some of the parasites that are controlled through deworming include roundworms, tapeworms, hookworms, and liver flukes. Deworming. Deworming is the practice of killing and removing internal parasites by administering drugs to animals called antihelmintics. The deworming drugs can be administered by using dosing gun, using bolus gun, and using narrow-necked bottle. Hoof trimming. Hoof trimming is the practice of cutting off overgrown hooves of farm animals. One may use hoof trimming knife, hoof cutter, or hoof rasp. Hoof trimming is important in livestock because it facilitates mating, it enables walking with ease, and it reduces incidences of foot rot attack. Docking or tailing in sheep. Docking is the removal or cutting off of the tail or dock, especially in sheep. Docking is done to reduce blowfly infestation, facilitate mating, and for even fat distribution in an animal's body. There are several methods that can be employed in docking. These include use of rubber ring and elastrator, use of badizo and knife, use of sharp knife, and use of hot iron.
Breeding practices. These are practices carried during breeding management. For example, crutching and rattling in sheep.
Crutching in sheep. Crutching should be done before mating to prepare the ewe for mating. Breeding practices. Crutching in sheep. Crutching is the shearing of wool around the external reproductive organs of a female sheep. Wool shears are used to carry out this practice. Docking is done for the following reasons. to control blowfly infestation, to facilitate mating, and to keep fleas clean. Rattling in sheep. This is the practice of fitting the rams with breeding chutes, which are painted in different colors during mating. The chutes are fitted on the underside around the breast of the ram. Rattling is done for the following reasons: helps to identify mated ewes and by which rams, helps to identify the active rams, hence able to cull the weak ones, and helps to identify infertile animals. Identification. Identification is the practice of making marks or putting labels on farm animals. There are several methods that are used in identifying farm animals. These include branding, ear tagging, ear notching, tattooing, and use of neck straps or chains. Tattooing in pigs. Tattooing involves marking shapes, numbers, or letters on the skin of an animal with an indelible ink or dye.
Branding. The marks made should be large enough to be read and understood for management purposes. Marks should be made on the ears, udder, muzzle, or at the back. Ear tagging in cattle. This is a common method for cattle identification in dairy farming management. Poultry management practices. Debeaking. Debeaking is the practice of cutting about a third of the upper beak with a knife, debeaker, scissors, or hot iron. It is important to debeak poultry for the following reasons: control egg eating, control cannibalism, and chicken are easy to handle.
By clicking on the appropriate buttons, identify the parasite and disease control practices carried out in livestock. Dehorning. Dehorning is the removal of horns in farm animals. The methods used for dehorning include use of caustic potash stick or potassium hydroxide, use of disbudding iron, use of dehorning saw or wire, use of rubbering or illustrator, use of dehorning collodion. Disbudding in calves. Disbudding is the process of destroying horn buds. The disbudding iron is heated in fire and then placed on the horn buds. castration. This is rendering unserviceable the testicles of a male animal. The reasons for castrating farm animals includes to control breeding diseases, to control breeding, for faster growth rate, and to increase quality of meat by removing unpleasant smell. Bee and fish keeping. Beekeeping. Importance of bees. The science of keeping bees is called apiculture. Honey has become very popular with many people, necessitating the improvement in ways of rearing bees. Bees are kept for the following reasons: for production of honey, production of beeswax, are good agents of pollination in crops, and require little capital and land to keep. Bee colony. Bees are insects which live in very well organized colonies. Each colony is made up of a queen, drones, and worker bees. The bee colony is made up of queen bee, which lays eggs, drones, which mates the queen and ventilate the hive, and worker bees, who rear and nurse the brood, that is, egg, larva and pupa, queen, and drones. They also make the honeycombs, make honey from nectar, protect the hive, and clean and cool the hive. Siting of an apiary. A hive is a structure made of wood for purpose of rearing bees. A place where beehives are laid is called an apiary. Factors to consider when siting an apiary are availability of water, availability of flowers, a sheltered place, a place which is free from noise and other disturbances, and away from human beings and livestock. Stocking the hive. Stocking the hive is the act of encouraging bees to enter an empty hive or actually putting them in it. Hives can be stocked through use a swarm net, use a catcher box, and placing a hive in a permanent place. Swarming of bees. A swarm of bees is a colony or part of it that is in flight. Bees swarm due to the following reasons: shortage of food and water in the surroundings, outbreak of parasites and diseases, damage of brood combs, lack of adequate ventilation, dampness and bad smells, sick or infertile queen, and overcrowding. Honey harvesting. Honey should be harvested when it is fully mature and at the end of the rainy season. Honey processing using crushing and straining methods of honey processing include heat method, crushing and straining, and using centrifugal extractor. Beeswax. Wax is secreted by a pair of glands in the abdomen of the worker bees. It is used by worker bees to make combs for raising the young brood and storing of honey. Beeswax can be used in the following ways: to manufacture creams, ointments, candles, shoe and floor polish, to make teeth impressions for filling and replacement, dissection of small insects in laboratories, and to make peel coatings. Fish farming or aquaculture. Importance of fish. The artificial rearing of fish is called aquaculture or fish farming. Fish farming is normally carried out in specially prepared structures called fish ponds. A good fish pond should have the following features. Should have an inlet, spillway, and outlet of water. Should be inland with a gentle slope. Should be fenced. Should be in an area which have clay soil, and should have water that is free from any pollutants. Establishing a fish pond. A suitable site should be identified, marked and cleared before digging the pond. Dikes should be constructed all around the pond. Cropping and harvesting of fish. Cropping is the harvesting of marketable size fish from the pond, while harvesting is the removal of all fish from the pond. Fish preservation. After harvesting fish, they are cleaned to remove mud and slime. The scales are then scraped off before removing the gut and cleaning the abdominal cavity. Fish are then preserved in either of the following ways: freezing, salting, sun drying, and smoking. By dragging and dropping in the boxes provided, identify the methods used in fish preservation in alphabetical order. Answer the following questions after covering the content on routine livestock rearing practices.